Hey guys, it's Jakiria again, back with another video. So this is video number 3, and if you don't know who I am, make sure you click my channel. Go ahead and click that subscribe button while you're there and check out the other 2 videos. So I've been thinking about where I wanted to take the channel, and I thought this would be a great time to go ahead and showcase what you can do to get started today. You know, you don't have to wait to get an IT job to get started into IT, because a lot of the times these interviews that you're getting on, they will want to see what you already know. They want you to go ahead and perform those jobs. Not all of them will have, an interactive session or performance section, but it is important that you know what you are saying that you know how to do. So I thought that this would be a good time to go through Packettracer. Packettracer is a platform by Cisco that allows you to configure routers and switches. I thought that we'd go through some Linux commands, so you can either download a Linux terminal or try the commands in the supported web browser. It brings up a Linux terminal and it lets you try these commands, and it lets you test out things. It lets you get in there and really understand how it all works. I figured we'd go through Azure. I'd compare the cloud environment to the on-prem environment. Tryhackme. Tryhackme is a cybersecurity platform that allows for fun learning. A lot of the time some of that information is very dry, but with Tryhackme, it makes it fun. It makes it, digestible. And lastly, I thought that we'd also get some Python interaction as well. There's a platform that you can go on. Python is a coding language that allows you to code in Python, but you can download Python, or you can also try the Python codes in a terminal just in a supported browser. And these are things that you can get started on today. You don't have to wait. Just really pick which industry or which subfield of information technology that you want to get into and just master it. Like I said, when you get to these interviews, they're going to want to know what you know. So coming to the interviews already with projects that you've already done, a lot of the times it's okay. You are the one that we want. So I think this is a very good session, and we'll jump right into it. So if you just type in packettracernetwork.com, it'll come up. You can download Packettracer, whether you have a Mac or Windows. You can download it, but for the purposes of the video, I'm just going to try it online and just give you a quick tutorial of just how it works. Okay, so you just click into the session. It's going to create a session. So it's loading your virtual network here, and you're going to have kind of like a diagram of network devices, clients, and then the internet. So here you can configure your router, or you configure your switch or your client machines. So say you are interviewing for a job as a help desk personnel, or you have a network administrator position or junior network engineer position, something with the network. This would be your domain here. You're going to be updating configurations, you're going to be managing devices, you're going to be managing the security of those devices, any maintenance with the router or the switch. With the switch, most definitely, you'd be doing that sort of thing. The PCs, the client machines, would be the client machines that are attached to the customer that you're helping. Maybe you're working a trouble ticket. So those will be the 2 client machines on the right hand and left hand side there. So all right, so say I want to configure a router. So I have my terminal here, and then I have the router. I need to get into a higher privileged account, like session. So here's when I'll just do the enable command, and then it allowed me to get into just a higher privilege so I can do more. Because if I leave it at just this level of permission, I'd only be able to show like basic information. I wouldn't be able to configure anything, so I need to up my privileges. All right, so I just enabled the user, and I just upped my privileges, so I can do, okay, let's do show version. And it's going to give me the version of this virtual Cisco software here. More, just enter, more information, and in here you can just get out of that. Okay, so say I can do show show login version. I guess that command is not working. So okay, let's move on to config T. So I need to get into the configuration terminal. This terminal is what I need to be in to be able to configure the router and configure interfaces, because that's what I'm going to be setting here. I'm going to be configuring interfaces with IP addresses, setting up protocol so I can direct my router to do what I need it to do. Okay, so let's see. If I wanted to do something like show running config, oh no, it's not showing. Okay, I need to get out of config. Yeah. Okay, so this shows me my running configuration. This shows me what's currently configured. I mean, there's really nothing here because, like I said, it's a test environment. It's a virtual environment for you to practice, so there's not really anything there. Here you have your host name, router. I could change that if I wanted to. You know, you have all of these protocols, settings, no IP address. Looks like the ports are shut. Okay, so let's change the router name. So I need to get into the configuration terminal. So config T, and then I can just do host name router test. Boom. Router test is now my host name, and this is the current configuration. There's a command to actually save this configuration, because if I was to reboot a router and if that running configuration isn't saved, then it's going to forget everything I just did here, and then the host name would be back to router. I can't think of it off the top of my head right now, but just for the purposes of the video, it's not needed. So I just do, you know, maybe a no shutdown. That command right there is to open up a port. So say I can't get traffic out of a client, or I can't route traffic from this switch, and then the breakdown is at this router. I can go in there and maybe shut the port, you know, just reboot the port essentially. I can see if that port was maybe shut to begin with, and then I can do no shutdown, and it'll just open up the port. So like I said, you can get online, you can literally Google Cisco basic commands, and it's going to allow you to be able to configure routers, configure switches, troubleshoot, and set up your environments on your own, set up your test environments, because essentially this is what you're going to be doing if you want to get into this field. You know, this is mainly what the network engineers, network administrators, maybe some IT help desk personnel will be generally involved in. You know, system administrators, maybe a few system engineers, but you know, system engineers so vast they can really do various things. But yeah, so that's Packettracer, and we can move on to the next one. Okay, so ubunlog.com was just the article that came up when I typed in Linux terminals or Ubuntu terminals, because I have a Mac here and I don't have a USB drive on me, so I can't boot up a Ubuntu machine or Linux machine from my Mac, because I don't have the USB drive and I need the USB drive to be able to boot it. So there are Linux terminals that you can practice online and go in there and try out commands, and you'll basically be able to do, you know, similar or pretty much the same thing. So it brought me to the Bellert.org website here, and you can still practice the same commands like I was saying. And if you want to know more commands, more than what I show here, just Google Linux commands, look up some Linux labs, Linux projects, and you can go in there and do it on your own. And this could be something you could showcase on a resume or at an interview, or just good to know knowledge if you are not even that familiar with Linux and you want to get familiar with Linux. Also, for those of you that don't know, Linux is an operating system that is open source. A lot of people use it in conjunction with Windows. You may have Windows environments and Linux environments. You may have just a specific use for this Linux machine here. But Linux is also an operating system as well. It has different variants. I've talked about Ubuntu. That's the variant I'm most familiar with, but you do have Red Hat, Enterprise Linux, RHEL as well. So just another gem there. Linux is an operating system. So I forgot to mention that just in case I have anyone here watching that doesn't know what Linux is. All right, so here I have my Linux terminal, and I mean, let's just go in here and, you know, try out some commands. So I can do sudo su, and I've already have elevated privileges, as you can see, but I'll explain what sudo su is. So a lot of the times when you're first logging into a Linux machine, if it's protected, you will have to elevate your privileges, similar to what we did at the Cisco terminal. And sudo su is the command to do it. Sometimes you'll need a password to get, well, you will need a password to get into those elevated privileges. So it doesn't look like, oh, there's some things here. Okay. All right, so there's a few files here. It looks like a Python script, maybe. Just some files, text files. All right, so let's see. Make directory. Make directory test. So make dir test is a Linux command that allows me to make a directory. And if I go to cd test, I'm able to go to that directory I just made. So I'm able to create files here, move files here, copy files here, delete files from here. And that's a Linux command. So if I do cd ... it takes me back to the previous directory. So let's see, pwd, it shows me the current directory I'm in, the current working directory. We do have list, like I did at the beginning, and there you see that test directory that I made. So it lists all of the files in that current directory, and then it lists directories. So if I wanted to remove that directory, I could just do remove directory test. And I can't be in that directory to remove that directory. So I went back out of the directory and moved that directory, and it doesn't exist. I list it and it's gone. So those are a few Linux commands. Of course, it gets much more in depth there, but for the purpose of this video, I want to just stress the fact that you can get started today. This is something you can do today. This is something you can really just get a great understanding of without, you know, someone like me, you know, talking over a YouTube video or going to school for it. You can go to YouTube University, you know, one of the best schools on the entire planet, and learn these things on your own. You can, you know, get working knowledge of these concepts. Is one thing to read about it, to go study and get certified. It's a whole other ballgame to actually know how to do these things. So like I said, Linux is pretty in demand, and it's a good topic. It's a good skill to have. So yeah, I think that one. Before I get started on the next one, so like I said, I have a MacBook here, and I wasn't able to create my Ubuntu terminal from my MacBook, so I had to do it, you know, just from the web page. But for anyone on the Windows device, you can do it. Or if you have a Mac, if you have a USB drive, you can do it that way as well. But if you just are running Windows, you can just go ahead and get the Ubuntu downloaded and configured, and you're able to get started if you're running Linux. And ubuntu.com is that website. Okay, so python.org. So anyone who is interested in web development, I know when I first got started, I just knew this was going to be the field for me. But as time went along, I kind of discovered I had other interests. I didn't really want to learn how to code. And it's funny because as my career has progressed, I've interacted with having to either interpret code or read code or even write something very, very simple. And I was trying to dodge learning how to code altogether because I got overwhelmed. But for anyone that is interested in coding, Python is a very well-known coding language. It's widely used, and a lot of people say that is one of the easiest coding languages to learn. So that's why I wanted to bring it up today. You can download Python on your machine. For the purposes of this video, I'm just going to do it from the website. So web developers, they're going to be the ones on the back end really showcasing what we see. You're on youtube.com watching this, so there's someone who coded that site, whether that was HTML, JavaScript, C++, C#, Python, Ruby. These are all different coding languages, but someone somewhere coded what you see on the internet. So if you, or in a video game, or in an application, an app on your phone, Instagram, Facebook, someone did that, or a team of people did that. And you can be one of those people as well. So if web development, app development is your sort of thing, maybe you want to get started with learning Python. I know a lot of the times when you're getting on these interviews, especially for web development and coding purposes, or software development, really software development, I should probably say software developers, you're going to want to have projects that you can showcase. It's nice to have something on paper that got you the interview, but once you get to the interview, you're going to want to have something that you can showcase. So having projects that you've already built or are working on goes a long way. Now, like I said, I don't really know a lot of code. I've had to interpret it and read it, but I'm not really that familiar. I know when I was learning how to do this, I learned like the print command, and I know print just displays the text that you've coded. So if I do print parentheses 5, it just showcases what I told it to do. I basically told it to do something, and it displayed it. So you can code this to say, I want this to equal this. So this variable is going to always equal this. You can code variables. Let's see. Like I said, I really don't know a whole lot of Python commands or the syntax, but for you guys that want to dive into this, I know this is one of my goals as well, but if you would like to learn how to do it, go ahead, go to python.org, download Python, get started, go test it out in the website, open up the shell, Google Python syntax, Python commands, and go on there and just try some stuff. Just get a feel for it. And before you know it, I'm sure you'll be developing websites, you'll be developing applications. Who knows, you may just develop the next Instagram. But this is where you're going to start. You don't have to wait. You don't have to go to school. If you would like to do that, by all means, I'm not knocking it, but you don't have to wait to do it. And for $0, you can do it. So, all right. All right, Tryhackme. So this is for all the cybersecurity professionals, all the cybersecurity aspirers, anyone who wants to get into cybersecurity. And there is a really big gap between the amount of jobs and the amount of workers in cybersecurity right now. So we need people. We need you. Tryhackme.com. I actually just discovered this site. I used to work out of Cybrary, but Tryhackme, I recently just discovered that you can go on here, and depending on your particular cyber role, you can go on here and test out things. You can play games, you can learn, but interactively. You can test actually penetration. You can do some actual penetration testing. You can do actual red teaming activities. You can go in here and really get a feel of what it feels like to be in the cybersecurity industry and learn at the same time. So I haven't actually done anything on Tryhackme. Like I said, I just learned about this platform, but I will definitely be mastering it soon. The path I chose here was red team fundamentals. So you have a red team and you have a blue team. So think of, you have, the good guys and the bad guys, essentially, because the red guys are the red team is the bad guys and the blue team are the good guys. So the blue team is going to be your everyday IT shop, your everyday organization, and they're going to be the ones that need protecting. And then the red team are going to act as attackers, and then they're going to come together and basically do scenarios and testing, whereas though they're going to test the integrity of your infrastructure, of your network, of your data. They're going to see if they can get into it somehow and attack you and compromise your environment. So I chose red team fundamentals because I know a lot about how to protect the environment. I know a lot about how to investigate and remediate, but I want to improve my skill set on actually facilitating those attacks. So I think I'm going to start with red team fundamentals. Maybe you want to start with SOC analyst or junior penetration tester, or something like that. But tryhackme.com, great platform. I've heard nothing but good things about it. So any cybersecurity people that want to jump into that, like I said, it gets very vast. I said on the very first video that it's so many different subfields. You can just choose which one you want to hop into and master it. You don't have to know everything, because like I just said, I don't know everything, but I know enough, whereas though if I wanted to jump into that field, I could. Or if I needed to talk to a coworker that we're consulting on a project together, I could do that. I could speak his language, or close enough. I can master mine, but I can also work with the other IT professionals that I may be communicating with. So that's Tryhackme. So we've discussed Tryhackme, Python, Linux, so Cisco configuration, so that's dealing with routers and switches. And I forgot to mention as well, Cisco is not the end-all be-all brand. It's just the brand that I'm most familiar with. It's just a vendor that I've had the most experience with, but there are other vendors as well, such as Juniper. I'm not sure what their commands look like. I'm not sure if it's something different, but I'm pretty sure maybe if you're working with Juniper, Cisco, or Juniper routers and switches, that they may be a little bit different. But just another piece of information there. If you don't really like Cisco, or if you have much more experience with Juniper, maybe you'll test out the Juniper websites or platforms or downloads more. Okay, so I don't have a Windows machine. I think I mentioned that already. I have a Mac. So Hyper-V isn't supported on Mac just yet, I hope, but I do have a step-by-step instruction that I'm just going to throw in here that you can use to spin up a containerized environment, to test things, maybe connect something, just whatever reason you may need it for, because a lot of the times you may not be able to buy a subscription to get a virtual machine, or I'm trying to throw in resources that are free, that I know of that are free, that you can get started on today. So Hyper-V is just a feature that you can turn on in Windows that allows you to be able to open up a Hyper-V virtual machine. It creates the virtual machine, and you have a server manager that manages the virtual machine. And it is basically a containerized environment that is separate from the hardware of the device that you're actually on. So anything that you do on that virtual machine does not affect the actual device running that virtual machine itself. So like I said, here's an article, step-by-step instruction. It's very easy. I enabled it on my work computer because my work computer uses Windows. But like I said, my personal is a Mac. So you just have to check that your system is compatible, open up programs and features, literally just click it, click OK, configure the Hyper-V settings. It's just click next, next. And there you have your Hyper-V virtual machine environment spun up, and you can go in there and you maybe want to join that client machine to a domain, or test out some PowerShell commands, or run some, I don't know, like security scenarios. You know, maybe you want to do that. But all in all, it's a good tool to use that is, like I said, free, that you can use to get started today. You know, these things are literally at your fingertips. So lastly, I'm just going to go through Azure platform. So as we move into a place where times are changing and a lot of this stuff is moving fast and it's getting more lightweight, cloud has become a very big thing. So just as much as on-prem is important and learning the basics of on-prem is important, I think knowing how that would connect to the cloud is good information. Maybe you're going to get into a position or interview for your first position and it won't be much of on-prem. And that can be really daunting for someone who doesn't have that on-prem knowledge first, because anything that you know in on-prem, you can pretty much relate to cloud. You know, probably I think about 75% of it, you know. But if you're starting off in the cloud, it's kind of hard to relate it back to on-prem. So now that we've kind of went through majority of the on-prem things that you're going to encounter, if you're jumping into IT, I think we take a brief look at Azure. I'm most familiar with Azure. There are other cloud platforms such as Google and of course AWS, but since I'm most familiar with Azure, I'll take a brief overview of Azure and explain some things there as well. You can do a 30-day free trial with Azure, and once you're completed that 30-day free trial, you can go ahead and do a pay-as-you-go subscription. So it's about $50 a month, $59 a month for their E5 license, but you have access to literally almost everything. And if you don't, you can just cancel the free trial, and at least you have gone in there, and if you're ever on an interview or anything like that, you can explain it. Or if you need to go in there and do some labs, which I'm going to show you right now, you can do it. So like I said, these are all free resources. Once again, free resources that are at your fingertips. All right, so GitHub is a website that it's a lot of information of what GitHub basically is. But for the purposes of this video, there's a specific repository in GitHub that has Microsoft Defender for Cloud information in it. So it kind of encompasses the Defender aspect in Azure to create Azure Security Center. So we'll go through maybe a few labs in another video, but you can use these labs to go ahead and combine with your free trial and practice these labs in your free trial tenant. So portal.azure.com. I thought I was already signed in, but sorry about this. Okay, so I thought I was already signed in. Sorry about that. All right, so here is Azure's portal. So this is Microsoft's cloud environment. So this is the main page that you're going to navigate to when you're looking at resources, when you're creating resources, when you're really getting in there and trying out those labs. So let me bring this over here, and we'll just choose one, something simple. So I believe that I already have Microsoft Defender for Cloud created, but for the purposes of this video, we'll just go ahead Yeah, I already have Microsoft Defender for Cloud enabled, so for the purposes of the video, we're just going to explain some of this. So I like how they already have all of this in here, and it's kind of video, so I don't, you have an understanding of what I'm trying to say. Okay, so here they're creating a template. So this template has all of the configurations already made. So they're just going to deploy the template, and Azure is going to take care of everything. Instead of you doing it manually, you can go in here and create the template, and it's creating everything already. So yeah, that's what they did. They completed the deployment. But manually, you just go to here. I say defend. All right, sorry about that, guys. I guess I reached my maximum time limit. But okay, so these are my different cloud security posture management subscriptions. In a later video, I'll explain what all of that is, what all of that means. But I just wanted to show you that Defender for Cloud is already enabled. And then I have devices that are protected from Defender for Cloud. I can show you those devices here as well. So like I said, I don't need an on-prem environment to facilitate my network, to, you know, to stand up an organization, to stand up any infrastructure, because this is all available at Microsoft's data centers. This is all available at Microsoft's buildings, the ones that they are leasing or the ones that they maybe own. I am basically renting their resources, basically. And it's kind of difficult to understand all of this if you don't have that on-prem knowledge, but you can get in here and learn it. You'd be only limited to Microsoft knowledge, but this is an avenue. You know, once you've built up that foundational knowledge, this is an avenue that you can take. So here's that virtual machine that I was talking about that's being protected by Defender for Cloud. It's a Windows server. I don't have any particular service for this server. It's not like a domain controller or a domain server or a web server or anything like that. It's just a regular server that I stood up just to onboard to Defender for endpoint, test out some things, and that's about it. But okay, maybe you want to be a cloud engineer. So this is the website that you're going to go to, create a free trial. AWS has a free trial account, and you can do a free account with them and, you know, do what it is that I'm doing here. So you don't have to wait. You can get started today. And then, like I said, I like Azure. I'm most familiar with that, and I'm definitely going to do more videos where I explain Azure more. We're going to do a tour of Azure on the next video and dive deeper into Azure and compare it to the on-prem environment to get you sped up. You know, I'll go ahead and give a crash course on comparing Azure to on-prem, and you can, you know, get sped up and break down that learning curve. You know, go ahead and get rid of that learning curve. So that's all I have for this video. Hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. I hope that you can take some of these resources and get started on your own. Like I said, you don't have to wait. These are things that you can do today. You are going to need to have experience. That's something that a lot of these people leave out when they, you know, talk about getting into tech, because these hiring managers, project managers, CISOs, they're going to want to know that you can do what it is that you're saying that you can do. So you need to know how to do it. And this isn't something that you can just break into without knowing absolutely anything. Pick something, master it, and then build from there. You won't know everything. Even 30 years from now, you won't know everything because IT is constantly changing. So like I said, pick something, master it, and you will be good to go. Hope you enjoyed the video for today. Video 4 coming soon, and peace.